things can't go worse than that. I'll sleep on the floor, I'll sleep on the pavement.
I've never believed in superstardom. I believe that if people like your work, which is your performance in front of the camera, that is what attracts them to you.
Everyone said that I was making the biggest mistake of my life by going into television. If things happen according to how you wish, that's good. But if they don't, that's even better.
There'll always be somebody who's going to be younger, better than you.
He's an Indian actor who's appeared in over 180 films in a career that has spanned over 4 decades. He's widely regarded as one of the most influential and important figures in Indian cinema history. He was so dominant over the Indian film market in the 70s and 80s that people called him a one-man industry. He's Amitabh Bachchan, and here's my take on his top 10 rules for success. Rule number 2 is my personal favorite, and I'm curious to figure out which one you guys like the best. And as always, if you hear something that really is motivating and inspiring to you, please leave it in the comments below and put quotes around it so other people can be inspired as well.
I doubt if there's any actor in the entire world, with all due respects to Mr. De Niro, when they haven't gone ahead and done a film and it hasn't turned out to be, the kind of film that they believed it would be, or it has been so incredibly bad that it's just kind of forgotten in their vision. Sometimes we do films because we believe in the person who's going to make it. Sometimes it's a gesture. Sometimes it's your own belief going wrong. We all make mistakes. And if they were mistakes, fine. But I will not deride any film that I have done. I will stay with every film that I have made, and I will say that I had a great time making them, irrespective of what happened at the box office.
That failure is a part of every human being's life. To think that failure is never ever going to come to you is the first mistake. It is bound to come some point of time. Even if you're riding a huge wave of success, I think it's important that at the back of your mind, you should be wary that tomorrow everything can go wrong. And whenever I think like this, I immediately think, okay, suppose I was to lose everything. What is the bottom line that would keep me comfortable? So I go back to where I was born and how I was brought home in a tonga, wrapped in a gudri, and I say, the worst is that things can't go worse than that. I'll sleep on the floor, I'll sleep on the pavement. So you look at the bottom line.
Right. And that makes you feel it's not that.
And I think that
gives you strength.
You feel that if you're prepared for the worst, a lot of people can say, look, I can't do without a house with 10 bedrooms, or I need 2 cars and I need a phone, and everyone has different priorities. But I think that what I feel is that I think about the bottom line, and when it isn't too difficult to cope with, I feel very satisfied. From there on, you say, okay, this is where I am. I have to move forward from here. This is the worst scenario. Now I must move forward. So every day you keep pegging away, digging at something, poking at something. Right. And even if it's a centimeter that you move forward, at least you move forward. I'm always reminded of an incident of my father's. We used to live in Delhi at Willingdon Crescent, which is near Teen Murti House, where Panditji used to stay. And at that time, the diplomatic enclave, which is now very, very habitated, was just wilderness and wild jungle. And he used to go for his morning walk in that region. And he used to leave at 3, 4 in the morning and come back at 5, 6. And he developed a taste for looking at rocks on the road and finding some kind of an image or a figure in it. And he would bring it home, and with just a stroke of a paintbrush, bring out that image, and or just leave the stone like that and say, look, this looks like a bird, or this looks like a human. And he developed this thing. One day he came back from his walk and he woke me up, as he normally would, at 6 in the morning, and say, can you just help me? I've got something which I cannot lift, so help me bring it in. So I went to the gate, and there was a huge boulder about this size. And I said, look, you can't possibly think that I can move this. So we called about 10, 20 people, and they pushed this huge boulder and brought it into our veranda where he wanted it to be put. That done, I asked him, look, this is fine, but how did this come up to the gate? So he said, you know, I went for my walk, I saw this huge rock, I saw this shape in it, and I liked it, I wanted to move it. So every day I go, I move it 1 inch and I come back. In 3 months, it's landed up at the gate.
Fantastic.
So really, it's a great example that, you know, if you just keep pushing something every day, it may look small, but I think the important thing is that you're moving forward. And there is some amount of satisfaction that you've done something which is somewhere giving you some satisfaction, and that eventually you will bring that huge boulder to its destiny.
I've never believed in superstardom. I believe that if people like your work, which is your performance in front of the camera, that is what attracts them to you. I don't see any other medium being used to attract audiences. It's eventually your film, and that's what's going to work. You may have the greatest managers and the greatest PR machines, but unless you perform well in front of the camera, it's of no use.
For 45 years, he has reflected and shaped society. When he got angry, the nation got angry. When he got injured, the nation came to a standstill. And now, when the common man of the nation has taken to the streets with Anna, he made Satyagrah.
What you said was more an instigation by the people who write films. And if credit has to be given to the mood of the country at the moment and how it is reflected in cinema, you will have to credit the writers of the time. So if you felt that there was a moment in a film which talked about anger, which talked about going against the system, wanting to fight alone, then Salim Javed, who wrote the script of Zanjeer at that point of time, will have to be credited, because they were the ones that thought about it. And many a times this question is posed to me, but I'm merely another actor who was just happened to be lucky enough to get that role.
You're not merely anything, Mr. Bachchan.
Yeah, right now I am.
There came a turning point where, mainly due to financial reasons, I got an offer from television to host KBC, which was the Hindi version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And I took that job, and I felt that that was a savior in many respects, because suddenly it gave me an opportunity to interact with the people of the nation, with the common man, with people whom we knew existed in our country, but we'd never known their conditions. It was a great eye-opener for me, apart from the fact that it was a novel experience for me to be working on television. Everyone said that I was making the biggest mistake of my life by going into television. Reducing myself from a 70mm screen onto a 25-inch TV screen felt was almost like reducing your stature to 25 inches of a TV screen. But there were compulsions, and I went ahead, and I'm now in the 12th year of KBC. I keep quoting my father all the time, and I'm sure I've done this millions of times. One of the first things he taught me was, man ka ho to acha, na ho to zyada acha. If things happen according to how you wish, that's good. But if they don't, that's even better. And I could never understand that. And when I asked him, he said, if they're not happening according to your wish, they're happening according to the wish of some divine force. And that divine force will never think ill about you. So you have to respect that as being better. So if things worked, I said, fine. If they didn't, I felt that there was some kind of divine force or divinity that didn't want me to do that, and perhaps wait for another opportunity. The other thing he told me was, when I was struggling a lot in those times, I said, bada sangharsh hai जीवन में. So he said, jab tak जीवन hai, tab tak sangharsh hai. I used to tell him, life is a struggle. And he used to say, so long as there is life, there is going to be struggle. I think if we accept this factor, that your life is never going to be easy. Something or the other is going to happen. So rather than sit in some kind of despondency on that and be aware that tomorrow is another challenge, is another day, which could turn out to be profitable, which may not, but eventually there will be another day when you can start trying all over again.
And then there was a lag in your career for almost 10 to 15 years, which is really the death of an actor, because you joined politics, then you made some bad decisions, then you didn't really sign films, and then suddenly you were a middle-aged actor. What did you do to change the rules of the game that today you are sitting here?
I think certain circumstances arose at that point of time where I was given to understand that I didn't need to work anymore. And I took a sabbatical for a couple of years. And now that I look back, I feel that that was a mistake. And I shouldn't have done that, because a lot of water had flown under the bridge, so to say, during the time that I wasn't working. It also teaches you that you're never going to be the best. You're never going to be on top of the ladder. There'll always be somebody who's going to be younger, better than you, who will take your place. And this is quite common in sports and in our profession as well. And it takes a bit of time to understand that. I would be lying if I said that I was not comfortable with it. It was very discomforting, because you suddenly find that if you go into a public situation, you find greater attention being given to the other person than yourself, when all along your career you've been the center of attraction. And it takes a while to understand that. But I think that the sooner you understand that, the better for you as an actor. You're not going to be able to be number one. You're never going to be able to attract the kind of commercials or the public adulation. And you just want to carry on working because you enjoy the profession without all these other tributaries that get attached to it.
I look for challenges even today, and even as I sit here, I hope that tomorrow, as I start a new film, I will be able to look at it as a challenge. I'm still very nervous when I go there. I feel that every new opportunity that comes my way needs to be looked at as that one door that will open something which perhaps will stop me from being bankrupt again, and stop me from getting back into that situation where I had to plead against all my debtors to save me from this situation. And that's how I look at it every day. I hope that I can continue doing that, because I don't want this sword, this Damocles sword hanging on my head, and therefore I continue working so long as I can. But yes, in the back of my mind, there will be those ugly moments that plagued me, and the fear of them recurring again is perhaps what drives me every day.
Amitabh, you've said this in the past, that you're really a director's actor, that at the end of the day, you don't have an idea of the film, but you absorb the director's idea, what he expects of you.
Yeah, I think that it's important for you to leave the decision-making to one person. I'd like to listen to one person on set, and if he's the captain of the ship, I will do what he asks me to do, because he has the visual and the sense and the idea in his mind of what he wants to make. If you have a disagreement with him, have the disagreement during the time when he's narrating the script to you. Have all your arguments and discussions before that, but once you come on set, I think it's only very professional and ethical to follow what the director tells you to do.
So if this 71-year-old Mr. Bachchan could go back to the younger Amitabh and hold his hand and say, don't take this path, go here instead, at what moment would that be?
I'd never say that. Because I think that whatever happened, I wouldn't want to change it. I feel that many of the mishaps or the wrong decisions or the failures that I had were were great learning grounds for me. I think I'm a lot wiser now. No one is the ultimate person as far as wisdom is concerned. So I feel that I wouldn't want to change anything and just continue the way I'm going.
If you want another amazing video highlighting excellence in the Indian community, check it out right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.